Hey girls, it's Friday, and it's also Canada Day. So to celebrate Canada Day, me and a few friends are going canoeing. That should be fun, and I really hope I don't get burnt. So I might actually wear sunscreen today. Not sure what you girls have been up to. I've been talking to Chelsea a little bit on Twitter, just because we've been talking about the Hunger Games. But Stella, I'm not sure where you are or what you're up to, so I hope everything's okay. This week, I've read almost 3 books. The first book I read this week, Vacations from Hell. A collection of 5 different stories, and they leave you wanting more. I read each of these little stories and I was like, I want more. So it's a very good way to get a glimpse of what an author's writing is like. The authors in this book are Libba Bray, Cassandra Clare, Claudia Gray, Maureen Johnson, and Sarah Malowski. I apologize for the pronunciation of her last name because I can't pronounce Polish very well. The 5 stories in this book are Cruisin', which is by Sarah. Great story about 2 teenage girls go on a cruise on their own when they're done school, and there's vampires, so that's exciting. The second story is by Claudia Gray. It's called I Don't Like Your Girlfriend. That's a really interesting one about a girl and her mother who are witches, and every year they go on vacation with the original girls that her mother started a coven with in college. And that one's pretty exciting. There's some different charms cast, and it's funny. The third one is The Lost Suspects by Maureen Johnson. This is where a girl and her sister go to Paris, and they're supposed to spend time with their cousin, but he decides it's summer, it's too hot in Paris, so they have to go to some remote little town. And they meet up with some interesting characters along the way, and a story told passes along kind of a virus of wanting to kill. So that's a very interesting story too. The next one is The Mirror House. That's written by Cassandra Clare. That was a really good little story about this girl really likes a boy at school. He's kind of a new boy. He's really cute. And she's got the hots for him. And her mother's starting to date this new guy. And when they go over to this new guy's house for dinner, who answers the door but the cute boy she's got a crush on? They end up going away for a week after her mom and this guy get married. And that's a really interesting little story there on its own. So I don't want to give too much away in these stories. That's why I don't like saying too much about them. Anyway, the next one is Nowhere is Safe by Libba Bray. This is a group of high school students that go backpacking across Europe just to celebrate the end of their high school and the start of their college careers. They're running out of money and they get bored with going around the normal tourist paths. It's just boring for them, so they decide to go to the middle of nowhere to a really superstitious town of devil worshippers. So that's an interesting story too. They're all definitely vacations from hell, and they're just interesting little stories that really leave you wanting more from each of the authors. So that's that book. The next book I read is none other but The Hunger Games. This is a book that really takes your breath away. I started reading it and could barely put it down. This is what Chelsea and I were talking about on Twitter, that it's painful to put this book down. You just want to finish it. You get so emotionally involved in it. Like, I feel so bad for Peeta. Like, my heart goes out to him. He's such a sweet guy. Most of you have probably read The Hunger Games. I live under a rock and didn't really even hear about them until a couple months ago. And I was in a bookstore on Sunday and I decided I needed to buy all 3 of them. So I did. I should stop going into bookstores. I spend too much money there. But anyway, those of you who don't know about the Hunger Games, this is it's futuristic, wherein the capital kind of runs the whole show. This big fancy city with its elaborate people and their clothing and makeup and high technology. They're crazy there. And then there's 13 different districts. And 75 years ago, the districts decided to rebel, and to keep them under control, the capital completely annihilated District 13. And so the 12 remaining districts had to participate in the Hunger Games each year. And what the Hunger Games is you pick a boy and a girl from each district to be your tributes to fight to the death. Last one standing wins. It's pretty brutal, pretty graphic, but very good. Katniss is the main character. She's a 16-year-old girl, and her sister Prim gets drawn to be the tribute for District 12. But Katniss says no, and she volunteers for her. So that's how Katniss gets in the Hunger Games. And then Peeta also gets drawn. So that's where Katniss and Peeta meet up. And then there's Gale. Gale and Katniss have been hunting in the woods together for a long time. And that's kind of an illegal offense because the entire district's surrounded by a barbed wire fence that's supposed to be electrically charged all the time. Katniss and Gale go under and go hunting anyway. And they build a really strong friendship that way. But the thing is, Katniss doesn't really realize that Gale has fallen for her. And she also doesn't really notice Peeta because he's a really nice, quiet guy. And her whole life, Peeta's noticed her and wanted to be hers. It's such a good story. I read it in 2 days. I have also started Catching Fire. I'm on chapter 19. And if I didn't have to go canoeing today, I'd probably finish reading that book because it's just that good. Now that I've taken up a whole lot of your time, I'm going to go canoeing. Hope I don't get burnt. You girls have a fabulous weekend. I know Monday is your Independence Day, so I hope you have a good Independence Day too. Chelsea, I'll see you on Monday.